Novdec 2025 Core Mathematics Paper 2, Section A, that's the compulsory part. Question 2. Mr. Edu takes 10 days less than the number of days Mr. Kubi takes to build an article. So, solution. Let's represent something, the number of days. So, let's say that let the number of days be equal to n. We've represented the number of days as n. So let's begin with that of Mr. Edu. The number of days it takes Mr. Edu to build the artifact, as well as the number of days it takes Mr. Kubi to build the artifact. So if Mr. Kubi takes n days to build the artifact, then what will be the expression for number of days for Mr. Edu to build the same artifact? You know that Mr. Edu takes 10 days less. 10 days less, so that will be n minus 10 days. Now the next thing is that we also need to find their individual rates. So their rates, let's begin with rate for Mr. Edu. So R for rate, so RA, the rate of Mr. Edu. So that will be the number of artifacts. So we are looking at one artifact, or sorry, one article per the number of days. For Mr. Edu, the number of days is n minus 10. So this, that is his rate. And then the rate of Mr. Kubi. Mr. Kubi, we are looking at one article built in some number of days. So these are their individual rates. So rate of Mr. Edu, 1 out of n minus 10 days. Rate of Mr. Kubi, 1 out of n number of days. Next, let's find their total rate. Their total rate. So their total rate will be the rate of Mr. Edu plus rate of Mr. Kubi. This must be equal to their total rate. Now, in terms of expression, the rate of Mr. Edu is giving us 1 out of n minus 10 plus rate of Mr. Kubi, 1 out of n. So what is their total rate? We are told that if both of them take 12 days to build the article, so one article is built in 12 days. So that is their total rate. So at this point, we want to find the number of days, that is n. So what do we do? So we can multiply, or we need to multiply each term by the least common multiple, which is the LCM. And what is the LCM? So the LCM will be n minus 10 multiplying n multiplying 12. So that is the LCM. So you are going to multiply each term by the LCM. So let's begin. Now, the first term, we have 1 out of n minus 10. Then we are multiplying the whole of this by the LCM. So the LCM, we have n minus 10, n, and then 12. what happens? You see that n minus 10 will cancel out, leaving 1 multiplied by n multiplied by 12. And we know that 1 times n, that is n. And then, so we are left with n, we are left with n multiplied by 12. That is for the first term. Now, the second term, we have 1 out of n multiplied by n minus 10 multiplied by n multiplied by 12. Again, you could see that n will cancel out, leaving 1 multiplying the expression n minus 10 multiplying 12. We know that 1 multiplied by n minus 10 is n minus 10. So we have n minus 10 multiplying 12. So that is for the second term, and this must be equal to, now the third term, we have 1 out of 12 multiplying n minus 10 multiplying n multiplying 12, the LCM. So 12 and 12 will cancel out, leaving 1 multiplied by n minus 10, which is n minus 10, then multiplying n. So now let's simplify. N times 12, I think that gives 12n. And then n minus 10 multiplied by 12, so we can expand. N multiplied by 12, we have 12n, minus 10 multiplied by 12, we have minus 120. And this must be equal to, can also expand this. So n multiplied by n, we have n squared, and then minus 10 multiplied by n, we have minus 10n. So we see that we are getting a quadratic equation here. We know that quadratic equation is of the form ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So let's rearrange in this form. So I'm making the left hand side of the equal sign as 0. Then I'm grouping all the terms to the right. So on the right, we already have n squared minus 10n. Then we transpose positive 12n to the right, becomes minus 12n, plus 12n also becomes minus 12n, and then minus 120 becomes plus 120. So we can still simplify. We have 0 on the left, we have n squared minus 10n minus 12n minus 12n. So minus 12n minus 12n, that is minus 24n. So minus 10, so that becomes minus 34n plus 120. So finally, we have n squared minus 34n plus 120 is equal to 0. We now have our quadratic equation. So let's factorize. Let's factorize and see the possible values of n. So let me repeat this. We have n squared minus 34n plus 120 is equal to 0. So we know that the coefficient of n squared is 1 and the constant here is 120. So the product of 1 and 120 gives positive 120. So let's find factors of 120 such that their sum gives minus 34. So let's guess the factors. So what will be the factors? So the factors, we have minus 30 and then minus 4, because minus 30 minus 4, that gives minus 34, and then minus 30 multiplied by minus 4, that is positive 120. So we have n squared, then minus 4n minus 30n plus 120 is equal to 0. So now let's group them. So n squared minus 4n, one group, and then this. So we can now factorize. What is the common factor from the first bracket? So that is n. When we factorize n out, we are left with n minus 4. Then with this bracket to the common factor. The common factor is 30. So 30, we are left with n minus 4, and this must be equal to 0. We have n minus 4, n minus 4. We select 1. And then we have n minus 30, and this must be equal to 0. So we can now solve for n. So we pick the first factor, n minus 4, we equate to 0, we solve for n. N is equal to positive 4, so that is the first value of n. Now the second one, n minus 30, must be equal to 0, so n is equal to positive 30, so that is the second value of n. But which of these values of n satisfy the expression here? So now let's begin with the first value of n, which is 4. So when we substitute 4 in place of Mr. Kubi, we have 4 days, but for Mr. Edu, we have 4 minus 10, that gives minus 6. And we are looking at number of days, and number of days can never be negative. So we can say that n can never be 4, since the number of days cannot be negative. So if that is the case, we can say that n is what? 30. N is 30. So with this, remember we have to find how long it will take each of them to build the article alone. So for Mr. Kubi, it will take him 30 days. So we just substituted n here, so that is 30 days. And then for Mr. Edu, when you substitute 30 in place of n minus 10, we have 30 minus 10, and this gives us 20 days. So that is the how long it will take each of them to build the article. Mr. Kubi 30 days, Mr. Edu 20 days.